I stood in Jasper's study, my hands trembling as I clutched the letter. The words blurred before my eyes, but their meaning was crystal clear. My sister Mara's flowery handwriting mocked me from the page, each loop and curve a dagger to my heart. "Jas, my love," it began. "Our little miracle is growing stronger every day. I can't wait to start our life together, free from the chains of the past." The sound of the front door opening jolted me back to reality. Jasper's footsteps echoed through the house, and I steeled myself for the confrontation I never thought I'd face. "Lori, you home?" he called out, his voice carrying that easy charm that had once made me weak in the knees. I stepped out of the study, letter in hand. "In here, Jas?" He appeared in the doorway, his smile faltering as he took in my expression. "What's wrong, honey? Why don't you tell me?" I held up the letter, my voice steadier than I felt. "Or better yet, why don't you explain how my sister is carrying your child?" Jasper's face hardened, all pretense of concern evaporating. "Where did you find that? Does it matter? How long, Jas? How long have you been lying to me?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's been going on for a while now, Lori. I didn't want to hurt you, but didn't want to hurt me." I laughed, the sound harsh and foreign to my ears. "That's rich, coming from the man who's been sleeping with my sister behind my back." "You know why," Jasper said, his tone maddeningly calm. "Mara gives me what you can't. A future. A family." The words hit me like a physical blow. "So that's it? My infertility means I'm not worthy of your love?" "It's not just about that," he argued, but I could see the truth in his eyes. "Mara and we connect on a level you and I never did." I felt my world crumbling around me. "Get out," I whispered. "Lori, be reasonable. We need to talk about this like adults." "Get out," I screamed, hurling the letter at him. "I don't want to see your face ever again." Jasper held up his hands in surrender. "Fine, I'll go stay with Mara tonight. We can discuss this when you've calmed down." As he turned to leave, a thought struck me. "Wait, does Mom know about this?" He paused in the doorway. "Ellie? Yeah, she knows. She's been supportive, actually." The final betrayal. I sank to the floor as Jasper's footsteps faded away, leaving me alone with my shattered illusions. Hours passed in a blur of tears and disbelief. When my phone rang, I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. "Lori, it's Diane from the spa. I was wondering if you'd like to come in for a treatment tomorrow. You sounded stressed during your last visit, and I thought you could use some pampering." I hesitated, then made a decision. "Actually, Diane, that sounds perfect. I could use a friend right now." "Of course, dear. Is everything all right?" "No," I admitted. "But maybe it will be, eventually. I'll see you tomorrow." As I hung up, I caught sight of my reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at me looked lost, broken. But beneath the pain, I saw a flicker of something else. Determination. Jasper and Mara thought they had won. My own mother had chosen their side, but they had no idea what they'd awakened in me. Tomorrow, I'd start picking up the pieces, and then I'd show them all exactly what Lorraine Harper was capable of. I climbed into bed, my mind racing with possibilities. For the first time in years, I felt truly awake. The game had changed, and I was ready to play. The spa's tranquil atmosphere felt like a slap in the face. How dare the world be so calm when my life was in shambles? I sank into a plush chair in the waiting area, my body tense despite the soothing music. "Lori?" Diane's warm voice broke through my thoughts. "I'm so glad you came. You look like you could use some TLC." I managed a weak smile. "You have no idea." As Diane led me to a private room, I caught a glimpse of a familiar face in the mirror. Mara, my sister, the betrayer. She was lounging in a robe, her hand resting on her slightly swollen belly. Our eyes met, and I saw a flicker of, was it guilt? No, it was triumph. "Lori." Mara's voice dripped with false sweetness. "What a surprise to see you here. How are you holding up?" I clenched my fists, willing myself to stay calm. "Just fine, Mara. How's the baby?" Her smile widened. "Growing stronger every day. Jas is over the moon." The casual mention of my husband's name sent a jolt of pain through me. "I'm sure he is." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Really, Lori, you should have seen this coming. Jas needs more than you can give." I felt something snap inside me. "And you think you're what he needs? A backstabbing sister who'd betray her own family?" "Family?" Mara scoffed. "Please, we both know you've always been the odd one out. Even Mom sees it." Before I could respond, Diane stepped between us. Ladies, this is a place of relaxation. Perhaps we should all take a deep breath? Mara rolled her eyes. Whatever. Enjoy your pity party, Lori. I've got a nursery to plan. As she sauntered away, I felt my legs give out. Diane caught me, guiding me to a nearby chair. Oh, honey, she soothed. I'm so sorry. Do you want to talk about it? The whole story came pouring out. Jasper's betrayal, Mara's pregnancy, my mother's apparent approval of it all. Diane listened without judgment, her kind eyes filled with understanding. When I finished, she took my hands in hers. Lori, listen to me. Sometimes we need to lose everything to find out who we truly are. I blinked back tears. But who am I without them? They've been my whole world for so long. Diane smiled. That's the exciting part. You get to decide. And from what I've seen, you're stronger than you know. As we talked, I felt a tiny spark of hope ignite in my chest. Maybe, just maybe, I could rebuild from this wreckage. Our conversation was interrupted by raised voices from the reception area. Curious, we peeked out to see Mara engaged in a heated argument with a man I didn't recognize. You promised me that money, Aaron, Mara hissed. I need it for the baby. The man, Aaron, looked exasperated. And I told you I can't just embezzle funds whenever you want. It doesn't work that way. Embezzle? My ears perked up. What exactly was my perfect sister involved in? Figure it out, Mara snapped. Or I'll tell everyone about your little side business. Aaron's face paled. You wouldn't dare. Try me, Mara smirked before storming off. I turned to Diane, my mind racing. Did you hear that? She nodded, her expression grave. Sounds like your sister and her friend are mixed up in something illegal. A plan began to form in my mind. If Mara and Jasper thought they could walk all over me, they had another thing coming. It was time to fight fire with fire. Diane, I said, a newfound determination in my voice. I think I need to do some digging. Can you help me? She squeezed my hand. Honey, I thought you'd never ask. Let's show them what happens when they mess with the wrong woman. As we left the spa, I felt a surge of energy. The game had changed, and for once, I held the winning hand. Mara and Jasper wouldn't know what hit them. I stepped into the spa's courtyard, my mind reeling from the encounter with Mara. The lush greenery and trickling water fountain seemed to mock my inner turmoil. As I sank onto a nearby bench, a gentle voice startled me. Excuse me, are you all right? I looked up to see a man in his mid-40s, concern etched on his kind face. I'm fine, I lied, wiping away a stray tear. He sat down beside me, maintaining a respectful distance. I couldn't help but overhear your conversation inside. I'm Aaron, by the way. Aaron Cutler. Lori Harper, I replied, surprised by my willingness to engage. Aaron's eyes widened with recognition. Harper? As in Jasper Harper's wife? My heart clenched. Soon to be ex-wife, it seems. He nodded sympathetically. I'm so sorry. Anyone who treats you like they did doesn't deserve you. It's hard to see that now, but I appreciate your kindness, I admitted. Aaron hesitated, then leaned in closer. Listen, Lori, there's something you should know about Jasper and your sister. My pulse quickened. What do you mean? I'm a financial consultant, he explained. I've had dealings with Jasper in the past. He's not who he claims to be. I felt a mix of dread and curiosity. Go on. Aaron took a deep breath. Jasper isn't a surgeon. He's been running a complex investment scam for years, and I suspect Mara's involved too. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. That's impossible. I've seen him in scrubs, heard him talk about surgeries. All part of the act, Aaron said gently. He's fooled a lot of people, Lori, but I have proof. My mind raced, piecing together inconsistencies I'd ignored for years. The late-night phone calls, the unexplained cash, the vague answers about his work. It all suddenly made horrifying sense. Why are you telling me this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Aaron's eyes met mine, filled with a mixture of guilt and determination. Because I was part of it once. I helped him set up some of the fake accounts. But I got out when I realized how deep it went. I've been trying to make amends ever since. I stood up abruptly, anger and betrayal coursing through me. So you're just as bad as they are. I was, Aaron admitted, standing as well. But I'm trying to make it right. I want to help you, Lori. You deserve to know the truth. I paced the courtyard, my emotions in turmoil. How can I trust you? How do I know this isn't another lie? Aaron reached into his pocket and pulled out a USB drive. Everything's on here. Bank statements, fake identities, the whole scheme. Take it. Verify it yourself. With shaking hands, I accepted the drive. If this is true, my whole life has been a lie. Not your whole life, Aaron said softly. Just the parts involving Jasper and Mara. You're stronger than their deception, Lori. I can see that. As I clutched the USB drive, a strange calm settled over me. Thank you, Aaron. I don't know if I can trust you yet, but thank you for this. He nodded, understanding in his eyes. Take your time, and if you need anything, advice, support, or just someone to talk to, I'm here. As Aaron turned to leave, a thought struck me. Wait, you said Mara's involved too. How? He hesitated, then said, she's been helping Jasper recruit new investors, using her charm, her connections, the pregnancy. It might be part of their long game. The final piece of the puzzle clicked into place. My sister, my husband, their betrayal. It was all part of an elaborate con, and I had been the biggest fool of all. I gripped the USB drive tighter, a new resolve hardening within me. Aaron, I called out, I think I'm going to need your help after all. As he turned back, a small smile on his face, I felt the first stirrings of a plan. Jasper and Mara thought they had won, but they had no idea what was coming. The game had changed, and this time I intended to be the one calling the shots. The annual Springfield Harvest Festival buzzed with activity, but I felt like a ghost drifting through the crowd. The cheerful decorations and laughter seemed to mock my pain. I clutched my purse tightly, the USB drive from Aaron burning a hole in its depths. I spotted them before they saw me, Jasper, Mara, and my mother Ellie, huddled together near the apple bobbing station. They looked like the perfect family unit, and bile rose in my throat. Taking a deep breath, I approached. Well, isn't this cozy? Their heads snapped up in unison. Jasper's easy smile faltered, while Mara's hand instinctively went to her slightly swollen belly. Lori, dear, my mother said, her voice overly bright, we didn't expect to see you here. Clearly, I replied, my tone icy. I wouldn't want to interrupt this little family gathering. Jasper stepped forward, his charm offensive in full swing. Now, Lori, there's no need for dramatics. We're all adults here. I laughed, the sound harsh and unfamiliar. Adults? Is that what you call lying, cheating, and stealing? Mara's eyes widened. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone, pulling up the incriminating documents Aaron had provided. I know everything. The investment scam, the fake surgeon act, all of it. The color drained from Jasper's face. Mara looked like she might faint. My mother stepped between us, her voice low and urgent. Lori, you need to stand up for yourself. Don't let them walk all over you. But not here. Not like this. I stared at her, incredulous. Now you want me to stand up for myself? After years of favoring Mara, of criticizing every decision I've made? I never meant to. Ellie began, but I cut her off. Save it. You never believed in my strength. Maybe it's time I show it to you. I turned to the growing crowd of onlookers. Ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. Jasper grabbed my arm. Lori, don't do this. Think about what you're doing. I wrenched free from his grip. Oh, I've thought about it for days, and now everyone's going to know exactly who you are. As I opened my mouth to expose their lies, a commotion erupted nearby. 2 police officers pushed through the crowd, heading straight for us. Jasper Harper, one of them called out. We need you to come with us. Jasper's face contorted with rage. He glared at me. What have you done? I shook my head, genuinely confused. This isn't me. As the officers handcuffed Jasper, explaining his rights, I caught sight of Aaron in the distance. He gave me a subtle nod before disappearing into the crowd. Mara collapsed into my mother's arms, sobbing dramatically. What's going to happen to the baby? To me? I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and pity. You made your choices, Mara. Now you have to live with them. As the officers led Jasper away, the festival dissolved into chaos. People whispered and pointed, their shocked faces a blur around me. My mother approached, her expression a mix of regret and admiration. Lori, I'm sorry for everything. I met her gaze, years of hurt and resentment bubbling to the surface. It's a start, Mom, but we have a long way to go. As the adrenaline wore off, I found myself at a crossroads. I had the power to destroy Mara's reputation, to expose every sordid detail of their scheme. But was that really what I wanted? I watched as Mara was escorted away by concerned friends, her perfectly crafted world crumbling around her. In that moment, I made a decision. Revenge wasn't the answer. I needed to focus on rebuilding my own life, not tearing down theirs. With a deep breath, I turned away from the scene of my family's public implosion. It was time to write my own story, one that didn't revolve around their betrayal. As I walked away from the festival, I felt lighter than I had in years. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it was mine to shape. I stood in the middle of my living room, barely recognizing the space around me. Gone were the family photos, the knickknacks Jasper and I had collected over the years. In their place stood sleek, modern furniture and abstract art pieces that spoke of independence and new beginnings. A knock at the door pulled me from my thoughts. Aaron stood on the porch, a file tucked under his arm and concern etched on his face. "Come in," I said, stepping aside. "I was just admiring my handiwork." Aaron whistled as he entered. "Quite the transformation. It suits you, Lori." We settled on the new couch, the leather cool against my skin. Aaron spread the contents of his file on the coffee table, bank statements, emails, and photographs that painted a damning picture of Jasper and Mara's deception. "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" Aaron asked, his voice gentle. "Once we start, there's no going back." I took a deep breath, steeling myself. They made us think they were invincible. It's time to show them they're not. Aaron nodded, a glimmer of admiration in his eyes. "For what it's worth, I think you're incredibly brave. Not many people would have the strength to fight back like this." As we pored over the documents, formulating our plan, a realization hit me. "Wait a minute," I said, pointing to a series of transactions. "These dates? They line up with when Jasper claimed to be at medical conferences." Aaron leaned in, his brow furrowed. "You're right. It looks like he was actually meeting with investors in the Cayman Islands." The betrayal cut deep, reopening wounds I thought had started to heal. All those times I was home alone, thinking he was saving lives, he was just lining his pockets. Aaron's hand found mine, a comforting warmth. "I'm so sorry, Lori. You didn't deserve any of this." For a moment, I let myself lean into his support. Then, straightening up, I said, "For the first time, I'm ready to fight back. Where do we start?" We spent hours crafting our strategy, deciding which pieces of information to leak and to whom. By the time Aaron left, night had fallen, and a sense of nervous anticipation filled the air. The next morning, I put our plan into action. A casual conversation with my gossipy neighbor about Jasper's frequent business trips. A pointed question to a mutual friend about Mara's sudden influx of cash. Small seeds of doubt planted carefully in fertile social soil. Days passed, and whispers began to circulate. I watched from the sidelines as Jasper and Mara's carefully constructed facade began to crack. Their invitations to social events became less frequent. People started to ask questions they couldn't easily answer. But as satisfaction bloomed in my chest, so did an unexpected pang of guilt. Was I any better than them, manipulating the truth for my own ends? My phone buzzed with a text from Mara. "We need to talk. Meet me at Mom's house tomorrow, please." I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to continue with our plan unabated. But another part, a part I thought had died with Jasper's betrayal, urged me to hear her out. As I debated my response, another text came through, this time from Aaron. "Big breakthrough. Found evidence of major fraud. This could put them away for good." My heart raced. This was it, the final nail in their coffin. With this information, I could destroy them completely. Isn't that what I wanted? But as I looked around my newly redecorated home, symbols of my independence surrounding me, I realized something. The woman who had started this revenge plot wasn't the same woman standing here now. I had changed, grown stronger. Did I really need to tear them down to build myself up? With trembling fingers, I typed out 2 responses. "To Mara, I'll be there. To Aaron, we need to talk. Can you come over?" As I hit send on both messages, I knew I was at a crossroads. The next 24 hours would determine not just Jasper and Mara's fate, but my own. It was time to decide what kind of person I wanted to be in this new chapter of my life. Setting my phone down, I walked to the window, watching the sun set on another day. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new decisions, but for the first time in a long time, I felt ready to face them head-on. The church basement hummed with tension as I stepped inside. Every eye in the room turned to me, a mix of curiosity and concern on their faces. This wasn't just another community meeting. It was the moment of truth. Jasper and Mara sat near the front, their heads close together, in whispered conversation. My mother, Ellie, sat a few rows behind them, her face a mask of worry. Aaron caught my eye from the back of the room and gave me a subtle nod of encouragement. Pastor Williams cleared his throat. Now that we're all here, let's begin. We've gathered to discuss the recent allegations that have been circulating in our community. My heart pounded as I stood, my legs shaky but my resolve firm. If I may, Pastor, I'd like to address those allegations directly. Jasper's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing. Lori, don't do this. Not here. I ignored him, stepping to the front of the room. For years I've been silent. I've watched as lies were told, as people were deceived, but I can't stay quiet any longer. The room fell silent, all attention focused on me. I took a deep breath and plunged in. Jasper isn't the man you all think he is. Here's the truth. He's not a surgeon. He's never saved a single life. Instead, he's been running an elaborate investment scam, stealing money from this very community. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jasper leapt to his feet, his face contorted with rage. How dare you expose our private life? You're worse than useless. This isn't about our private life, I shot back. This is about the lies you've told everyone in this room, the money you've stolen from our friends and neighbors. I pulled out the documents Aaron had given me, holding them up for all to see. I have proof. Bank statements, fake credentials, everything. Jasper Harper is a fraud, and he's been using all of you to line his own pockets. The room erupted into chaos. People shouted questions, demanding explanations. Mara burst into tears, her hands protectively cradling her pregnant belly. And what about you, Mara? I turned to my sister, my voice breaking. Did you know? Were you part of this from the beginning? Mara's silence was all the answer anyone needed. As the truth sank in, I watched the community I'd grown up in grapple with the betrayal. Some people wept openly, others demanded justice. Through it all, Jasper stood defiant, his charm replaced by cold fury. You'll regret this, Lori. He hissed as two men from the congregation restrained him. I'll make sure of it. But his threats fell flat. For the first time I saw Jasper for what he truly was, a small, desperate man whose house of cards had finally collapsed. As the meeting dissolved into heated discussions and calls to involve the authorities, I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was my mother. Lori, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I had no idea. All this time, I thought, I'm so sorry. I wanted to fall into her arms, to let years of hurt and resentment melt away, but the wound was still too fresh. It's a start, Mom, but we have a long way to go. As I turned to leave, exhausted and emotionally drained, I caught sight of Aaron making his way towards me. But before he could reach me, Mara intercepted him. You, she spat, her face twisted with anger. You're the one who gave her the information, aren't you? You'll pay for this, Aaron. I swear it. The venom in her voice made me freeze. There was something in her eyes, a desperation, a darkness I'd never seen before. In that moment, I realized this wasn't over, not by a long shot. As I stepped out into the cool night air, the weight of what I'd done hit me full force. I'd exposed the truth, yes, but at what cost? And what would Mara do next, now that she had nothing left to lose? The battle was won, but I had a sinking feeling that the war was far from over. The old family cabin loomed before me, a weathered sentinel guarding decades of memories. I hesitated at the door, my hand trembling as I reached for the knob. Inside, I knew Mara and Mom waited. This meeting, a last-ditch effort to salvage what remained of our fractured family. Taking a deep breath, I stepped inside. The musty air hit me like a wave, carrying with it the ghosts of summers past. Mara sat rigidly on the threadbare couch, her pregnant belly a stark reminder of her betrayal. Mom paced by the fireplace, worry etched deep in the lines of her face. Lori, Mom said, relief evident in her voice, you came. I nodded curtly, unable to muster a smile. Let's get this over with. Mara's eyes flashed with anger. Get what over with? Your little revenge tour? Destroying everything we've built? Everything you've built? I laughed bitterly. You mean the lies, the manipulation, the theft? You're just jealous, Mara spat. You've always envied me. My looks, my success, and now Jasper. The words hit me like a physical blow, reopening old wounds. Envied you? Is that what you think this is about? Mom stepped between us, her voice pleading. Both of you need to stop. This isn't what family should be. Family? I echoed, years of pent-up hurt and resentment bubbling to the surface. When have we ever been a real family, Mom? When you constantly praised Mara while criticizing every move I made. When you turned a blind eye to her affair with my husband. Mom recoiled, as if slapped. I never meant to make you feel that way, Lori. I was just trying to push you to be your best. By tearing me down at every turn? I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. Do you have any idea what that did to me? The insecurity, the self-doubt? Mara scoffed. Oh, please. You always played the victim. Poor, perfect Lori, so misunderstood. Something inside me snapped. You want to talk about being a victim? Let's talk about the summer I was 12, Mara, the summer camp incident. The color drained from Mara's face. Lori, don't. But I was beyond stopping. The floodgates had opened, and years of suppressed trauma came pouring out. You told everyone I was the one who started the fire in the mess hall. You watched as I was punished, ostracized. But it was you, wasn't it? You were smoking behind the building and dropped the cigarette. Mom gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Mara, is this true? Mara's composure crumbled. I was scared. I didn't mean for it to happen. But you let me take the fall. I pressed on, my voice shaking. And that was just the beginning, wasn't it? Every time something went wrong, you found a way to blame me. And Mom, you always believed her. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom sank into a chair, her face ashen. Mara stared at the floor, unable to meet my gaze. I've spent my whole life trying to measure up, I continued, my voice barely above a whisper, trying to be good enough for both of you. But now I see, it was never about me. It was about your own insecurities, your own failings. Mara's head snapped up, her eyes blazing. You think you're so much better than us, don't you? Saint Lori, the long-suffering martyr. No, I said, a strange calm settling over me. I'm not better. I'm just done. Done trying to win your approval, done letting you manipulate me, done with this toxic cycle we call family. I turned to leave, but Mom's voice stopped me. Lori, please, we can fix this. We're family. I paused at the door, my hand on the knob. Maybe someday, Mom, but not today. Today, I choose me. As I stepped out into the cool evening air, I heard Mara's muffled sobs and Mom's attempts at comfort. Part of me wanted to turn back to try one last time to mend the broken bonds. But I knew, deep in my heart, that some fractures run too deep to heal. Walking away from the cabin, I felt simultaneously lighter and more burdened than ever before. The truth was out, the wounds laid bare. But what would rise from the ashes of this final confrontation? Only time would tell. I stood in the center of my new apartment, surrounded by friends and the symbols of my rebirth. The walls, once bare, now held artwork that spoke of strength and new beginnings. Every corner reflected the woman I'd become, resilient, independent, and finally truly myself. As I gazed around the room, my eyes met Aaron's. He smiled warmly, and I felt a flutter in my chest that had nothing to do with anxiety. It was hope, pure and simple. Diane raised her glass, her eyes twinkling. To new beginnings, she proclaimed, and to never letting anyone dim your light. The room echoed with cheers and the clinking of glasses. I took a sip of champagne, savoring the moment. Speech, someone called out, and suddenly all eyes were on me. I cleared my throat, surprised to find that I wasn't nervous. A few months ago, I thought my life was over. I'd lost my husband, my sister, and in many ways, my sense of self. I felt useless. The room fell silent, hanging on my every word. But standing here now, I realized that what I thought was an ending was really just a beginning. I found strength I never knew I had, and it's just the beginning. As I spoke, I caught sight of a familiar face slipping into the back of the room. Mom. Our eyes met, and I saw a mixture of pride and regret in her gaze. Taking a deep breath, I continued. I've learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who stand by you, who believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself. I gestured to the friends around me, Diane, who had been my rock, my coworkers who had supported me through the darkest days, and Aaron, whose unwavering faith in me had helped me find my own strength. To all of you, thank you. You've shown me what true family looks like. As the applause died down, I made my way through the crowd to where Mom stood. Lori, she said, her voice thick with emotion, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so sorry for everything. I hesitated for a moment, then pulled her into a hug. It's okay, Mom. We're both learning and growing. She pulled back, wiping away a tear. I have something for you, she said, handing me an envelope. Inside was a letter from my boss, offering me a promotion to regional manager. I looked at Mom, confused. I may have put in a good word, she admitted. It's time someone recognized your true worth. Before I could respond, Aaron appeared at my side. Everything okay? He asked, his hand finding the small of my back. I nodded, introducing him to Mom. As they chatted, I marveled at how natural it felt. This new dynamic, this new life. The party continued around us, but I found myself drawn to the balcony. As I stepped outside, the cool night air kissed my skin. The city stretched out before me, a tapestry of lights and possibilities. Aaron joined me, his presence a comforting warmth at my side. "Penny, for your thoughts," he asked softly. I turned to him, really seeing him for the first time. "I was just thinking about how far I've come, how different everything is now." He nodded, understanding in his eyes. "You're an incredible woman, Lori. I hope you know that." In that moment, with the city lights twinkling and the sounds of laughter drifting from inside, I made a decision. I leaned in and kissed him, soft and sweet. When we parted, both a little breathless, I smiled. I'm starting to believe it. As we stood there, hand in hand, I realized that this wasn't just an ending to my old life. It was the beginning of something beautiful and new. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in my life, I was excited to see where it would lead. I had lost so much, a husband, a sister, the family I thought I knew. But in their place, I had gained something far more precious, myself. And with that newfound strength, I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The future stretched out before me, bright and full of promise, and I was ready to embrace it, one day at a time.